Going on, my dudes, this is Math Time with Mr. G, and today we're going to talk about postulates. And to remind you, a postulate means that the definition of something is good enough. It is because it is. We don't need to prove it with logic or rationale or deductive reasoning. Its definition is enough for us to know that it's true. So for example, if I had point A and point B, there's exactly one and one line only that could go through both those points. And that line is line AB. If I had a plane of existence with points on it PQR, that would mean that plane PQR exists. I don't have to prove it. Its definition that points on a plane is plane PQR. There's no logic necessary. If I had this diagram here, and I'm looking at line EG and line AH, because they create a 90-degree angle, the definition of perpendicular, of creating a right angle, I know that EG and AH are perpendicular because of the definition. I don't have to prove it. The definition is good enough. Next, I'm going to look at triangle ABD. And let's pretend that the line BD is 7 inches. Now I'm looking at the triangle BCD. And I'm going to look at this right here. This is known as a reflective property. That means that BD is also 7 inches. So the reflective property says that if we're talking about the same line, no matter which part of the triangle we're talking about, it's still going to be the same measure. And we don't have to prove it. The definition itself is good enough. Next, I'm going to look at the measure of angle X is congruent to the measure of angle Y. Then I find out that the angle of measure Y is congruent to the measure of angle Z. Because Y is in both, and they're equal to two different things, we can say that X is congruent to Z. There's no proof necessary, just the fact that Y is true to itself, that means X and Z are true to each other. Next, let's say that angle DEG is what we're going to call supplementary. So that means that this angle and this angle add up to 180 degrees. Later, I find out that angle EDEG is also supplementary to KIJ. So even though we don't know what this angle is, if this is true to being supplementary and this is true to supplementary, these two angles are congruent to each other. And the same is true for HIK. If that is supplementary to KIJ, then HIK must also be the same measure as DEG. Other than that, be kind to one another, ask lots of questions, and think deeply.